It's showtime. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sisters for Harmony. Please be sure to put in the chat where you are joining us from. We are super duper excited to have our guest tonight. Now, many of you, if you are new to the show, I always tell you, make sure. Are y'all hearing the echo? Let me see.
Very little.
Okay, let me make sure that's done. Got it. All right, we're going to back up. If you're new to the show, make sure you have a pen and paper ready. If you are returning to the show, you already know the deal. Get your pen and paper. You are going to hear something. You're going to learn something. You are going to be inspired by something. You're going to get some education. And you may even hear something that you want to share with somebody else. So I'm going to pass the mic to Brother Emoji so you can open us up properly, and then we're going to get rolling.
Well, thank you, Dr. Walls.
You're welcome.
First and foremost, we greet you in the name of God and our ancestors in whose footsteps we must humbly walk, understanding the path we are walking in was laid down by blood, sweat, and tears for those who came before us, and we honor them by continuing the journey. Ashe.
Ashe. All right. Well, Brother Moja, this was your connection. So why don't you tell us how we got connected with these fabulous guests tonight?
I'll be more than happy to, Dr. Walls. First, so let me say this. I want to thank Dion and Sister Lily John for putting my name in the hat for Mother Bethel AME Church to be the videographer for them for the Freedom School. And it was truly a journey for me, Dr. Walls, because I got to meet some fantastic people. Two of them are with us tonight. And I got to understand some more of the history of Philadelphia, of our ancestors. And that's helped me refocus some of the stuff I'm doing, because what these two women have done, and I saw them on stage when Trina had her event at school, and they blew me away because they connected the dots. Let me say, they reconnected the dots in the correct way it should have been in the first place. For those who are listening tonight, please have pen and paper, like Dr. Wall said, because if you live in the Philadelphia area or surrounding area, you're going to get some information you probably have not heard before. If you're coming to Philadelphia for the 250th anniversary celebration that's happening, you will want some of these notes and some of this information they're given, because unfortunately, Dr. Walls, a lot of this information would not be given out over the normal commercial stuff that we're going to be hearing going through this year. So if you're coming to Philadelphia to see the Liberty Bell, amen. If you're coming to see all these wonderful things, but while you're walking to the Liberty Bell, you're going to be passing some of your history. Okay? And you don't know about it. So what these two ladies are doing tonight is they're going to put a spotlight in some places that we did not hear about in history class, or we haven't heard about in the general media. So I thank them for coming on today. I thank Mother Bethel AME Church, Reverend Cavanis, and the whole crew down there, Dion Chambers and Sister Little John, for putting my name in that pot. And it's always the sisters that stir up the pots, right? So thank everybody very much, and I thank the two sisters who are coming on. They're going to be introducing themselves in a very unique way. So please, family, please get a pen and paper, because you do not want to miss what's about to happen.
All right. Well, there we go. All right. Well, let's take a moment and introduce our guest. Now, Ms. Quinones, you have a very unique first name. Would you please pronounce it for us so that we get it correct?
Michiko.
Michiko.
But just call me Mitchie. It's easier.
Okay. All right. And Michiko is part of the 1838 Black Metropolis. And if you joined us last month, you got a chance to hear Matthew, and he's from Black Metropolis, and he shared a little bit about the organization. Michiko's going to tell us a little bit more, and then she's going to highlight someone in particular, but we're going to talk about a lot. And then she brought Morgan Lloyd to our attention. And Morgan, take your mic off so we can hear your voice. Say good evening, whatever.
Good evening. Happy to be here.
Yes, and you are the lead curator in addition to a lot of other things that you do as well. So let's just start first. Michiko, why don't you? There's so much I can say. Put out what you would like to put out first about yourself.
Wow, I'm a little nervous with that intro. That's a lot of pressure. Okay, but we'll try to do our best. I should say that Morgan and I founded 1838 about 4 years ago, and it was kind of a fortuitous meeting. We were both working at I was a volunteer. Morgan was working at the African American Museum in Philadelphia. And I had come across this census, the Black community, which we'll go into in detail, but that's where it's almost like a sacred document to us at this point, because the people just really spoke to us. So Morgan and I would spend like hours looking at the census. We would just be on a Zoom and we'd be like, who's this guy? And we're like, oh, look, there's a toy maker. Musicians, and then it kind of grew from there. And then Ivan Henderson helped us to get like our first talking gig.
Okay.
And that was at Carpenter's Hall, and that was like maybe 4 years ago.
April would make technically 4 years.
Wow.
And then from there, we were like, well, let's go to Asala and see if anybody knows about this. So we went to the Asala conference in Montgomery. That was a whole nother experience. Keep us there. We'll have to tell you about that. I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about some energy.
Come on.
Yeah, and then and so I'll let Morgan pick it up from here. I just wanted to give you some context.
Thank you.
It's the two of us that built this thing, and then Morgan actually accelerated us because she was at AMP, and what she calls push the button, which she got us to do walking tours, and I was like, oh heck no, I'm not doing a walking tour. And then now here we are doing.
Look at that. Look.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Morgan.
It's so odd that it's been almost 4 years now that I think about it. But yeah, to say the least, and to and to Michiko, we went down to Montgomery, Alabama to the Asala conference, the premier conference for African American history. And we just had a humble little paper presentation to talk about all the cool things we found inside of the census and all the incredible ancestors and businesses that existed in Philadelphia and the surrounding region. And we were surprised to find out that not a single person really knew much about what we were talking about.
Wow.
Many people knew about W.E.B. Du Bois and the Seventh Ward, but the census that Michiko was highlighting and showed me and really opened up not only a new world to me, but really solidified things that I already kind of understood to be true of our ancestors. Existed before the Seventh Ward even existed. We're talking about the elders that W.E.B. Du Bois is writing about, but them as children.
Oh.
And the generations before that, the folks that raised them. And that is something that people can conceptualize. Like everyone knew that Philadelphia was the premier place to be African American, but no one knows what it looked like before we came to the disparities that were discussed in the Seventh Ward. Or we had glimpses because we knew Harriet Tubman came here. And some people who are really into history knew about like William Still, the father of the Underground Railroad. He lived here and he was conducting from Canada and around the world. People knew about the community of extraordinary, ordinary individuals that would make up those congregations, that would be going to those schools, that would be advocating for people who were enslaved. So once we started looking at it and started placing it in a map, we realized not only how large this community was, it wasn't just in that Society Hill area that we know. It goes up and down Northern Liberties, and also anyone who's from Jersey, I'm a South Jersey girl, I gotta plug it. There's a reason why, like the broad streets align. We are looking at multiple African American communities in this tri-state region all working together for their liberation and those that were enslaved. So I jokingly say, as Michiko says, I push the button. We were asked by our friends at the Historical Society of Pennsylvania to do a walking tour of some of the stuff that we were unearthing. But once we saw the desire, I saw this gorgeous opportunity at my 9 to 5 to just see if we could do a collaboration. And it sold out.
Wow.
Within maybe the first week.
Wow.
And then Michiko was amazed, but also like, we're not doing this again. And then I tried it again. And every single time we sold out. And from there, it expanded to, of course, walking tours, what I think we are best known for. But now, over the span of these 4 years, and as you guys have met Matthew, our team has expanded where it's more than the 3 of us. There's a good, how many of us are there now?
So I don't know. It keeps growing. 10.
10 plus. And everyone, if not a brilliant scholar, is absolutely brilliant in their own field, whether it be in storytelling, whether it be in arts, whether it be in education and the academic, like K through 12 level or collegiate. So we're all trying to help to tell the story of these ancestors and not only preserve them, but also let African American, as well as other people of color, know their history has always been here. It exists.
Yes.
And that in many cases, their ancestors, if not were these people, benefited from the efforts of Black and Brown Philadelphians on a global scale.
Yes.
So now it's art, curriculum. We have a play coming out very soon.
Wow. So good. All right, Dr. Ramantar, I know you are over here burning with questions and comments. I know you are.
I'm really happy that they're on today. Welcome. I really wanted to just ask, for those who may be unfamiliar, what does the name 1838 Black Metropolis represent? And why is it important to anchor your organization in that historical moment?
Mitchie, do you want this or
I'll take this one. Okay, so 1838. Why is that an important year? Well, I like to always ask everyone, how old was Harriet Tubman in 1838? And you cannot look at your phones. Take a guess.
I know already because I heard it.
You know.
I don't have a clue.
I don't either.
Come on, y'all. What you putting in the chat? Put some.
Come on, chat room people. Philly in the house. Come on, Philly.
Come on, Uptown. Come on, Virginia. Come on. How old was Harriet Tubman in 1838?
No looking at Wikipedia.
No looking at
the screen if you're Googling, by the way.
Say it again. What you say, Morgan?
We can sense through the screen.
Oh, watch out. The ancestors are telling.
Dr. Walls, that's why I said, please have pen and paper, because the information that's going to be coming at y'all, it's just awesome. When it hit me, I was just glad to be there.
Oh, yeah. Did we get any comments?
No, we ain't get no comments. They being real quiet.
Dr. Ramantar, come on.
Oh, I don't know.
Somebody
said around 20.
Around 20.
Okay, good. No, she was actually a little bit younger, so she's like 14 or 15.
Wow.
And at that time, so I just wanted to situate you within this very long 19th century.
Yeah.
There were already 20,000 free Black people within this kind of 1.5 mile radius in Philadelphia, with 17 churches, 23 public and private schools. And I'll note public schools, the first Black public school, I think might have been in Boston, but maybe it was in Philly, but it was 1824. And there was Black education here before that. And so there was already a thriving, bustling town of Black folk.
Wow.
And if it had been in the top 20 of cities in the United States, it was bigger than all of Buffalo, white or Black, in 1840. Remember, we're talking a smaller footprint of people in Philadelphia. And so, especially in the wards that we're talking about, in the center of the city around Mother Bethel, upwards of 50 to 60% of the population there was Black. As Morgan mentioned, that had this global impact because as early as 1820, Richard Allen is sending people to Haiti. He's sending itinerant preachers into the South. We find that a preacher from Philadelphia, a song he wrote, he was down and preaching in Virginia in the area of Nat Turner. His song shows up in Nat Turner's papers. We find that Denmark Vesey was in Morris Brown's church in Charleston. That is the AME trail, but AME didn't function just like that. AME functioned as a sort of headquarters for liberation. And it's important to understand it wasn't just free Black people in our own little world. It's free Black people busting and creating cracks in the foundation of slavery through sending people down, around, across the pond, Africa to Haiti and back. Haitians here. Morgan likes to talk about the Haitians. I'm going to leave that to her. But I mean, you have to understand the scale. And this is the thing that got us. We were like, wait a minute. I have a degree in African American Studies from University of Maryland. I spent all my time at Nimburu Cultural Center. I never once heard about this. And we actually found some intentional erasure, which we can get into. But as soon as Black people understand how great this civilization is, it changes how we feel about ourselves.
Yes.
And we have seen it work in the souls of people. So there's a hole missing. We don't even feel it until it gets revealed. And we're like, oh my God. And that's what happens to a lot of people. We're seeing it even happen with students.
Yeah. As soon as you said that, I mean, just that phrase, work in the souls of people, like that. With Sisters for Harmony, our mission is to help people to live their life on purpose and with purpose, and to be able to work in the souls of people. That's it. The work that you two are doing and all those who join you in this mission is amazing. And to literally walk the talk is a whole nother level of integration. Go ahead, Morgan.
Sorry, just a yes and, because 1838, there's still a level to this world building. It's not even just like world building. We're really just grabbing what exists and showing it to all. Right? We're telling what simply existed. We aren't imagining. We're just saying what we saw in the documents.
That's right.
But with 1838, there was a census that was created, and that is where we really derive our name from, the 1838 Abolition Society census that was made in solidarity and for and by Black people and people of color to say who they are, as they are, and all of what they were becoming. There was a disenfranchisement that was beginning to transpire in the voting space. There was a couple of Black men that voted out in Greater Pennsylvania. And let's take a pause there. We're looking at 1830s. There were a couple, 35 specifically. There were a couple of Black men that voted in Greater Pennsylvania, which means Black men could vote if they were landowning.
Key.
And their vote shifted the tides in favor of the people of color.
Wow.
And it was then that the Pennsylvania government came to realize, oh, when we said all men had the right to vote if they were landowning, now must consider race. So when that began to be a conversation, it was then that many of our leaders, if you are a Philadelphia history buff in the way that we are, or you know a couple of key names, James Fortin, Robert Purvis, and so many other incredible men, got together and they decided to create a census of the Black population as they knew it in Philadelphia as it existed, which was a much smaller city. As we understand, Northern Liberties down through Moyamensing, to show where they lived, what school, or like if their kids were in school, what churches they attended, or what type of Christian did they identify as, if at all, believe it or not. What occupations they had, both men and women, heads of household, and if they were even a part of mutual aid societies. And also how much money they had, which now we're seeing Black, spatial stability is Chico's phrase, where we now have this wonderful example of a community that not only exists as several individuals who happen to be of the same identity, but also commingling, creating their own economy, and saying that they are American, or to the best of their abilities, we are contributing to the American story, though you do not see a full citizen. On top of those mutual aid societies, we are aiding ourselves, and we are aiding those that are enslaved, but we are still doing what needs to get done.
Yeah.
And specifically, again, 1838, the answer is so large, right? Morgan is like, why 1838? One, there was all these people here and it was incredible. But the other thing was the rise up against Black, I would call it sovereignty, Black ability to be a fully fledged citizen, even the economic importance of the Black community. All of that was a threat to the global slave system. And by having this free community of Black people on the border, right, you had this exit valve. And so what was actually happening is people who were enslaving people felt that because Philadelphia Black community existed and all of those abolitionists, they were losing money. And that whole energy spiraled eventually into the Civil War. And so what do you do? I personally think, because my first degree was in government and African-American studies, I'm looking at what kind of role, socioeconomic role, did this city play in global geopolitics? And so you start to see the fact that how can you have you're trying to actually claim that Black people are less than, are not even human. That is why they deserve to be enslaved. Yet here is this rich Zion and all of these people and the crossing the border and going to Jerusalem. There's this whole push. There's this energy, and everybody's brilliant, and the money is flowing, and the buildings are building, and how can you say that people are less than when this is happening right here? So there's this kind of moral tension. That Philadelphia is causing the whole country.
Yes.
To realize. So then you get this push against the fact that there were going to be a couple thousand Black men in Philadelphia who could vote according to the rules. So once Bucks County showed that they could change things, then it was like, oh, wait a minute. If Bucks County can do that, that can happen in Philadelphia. What are we going to do about that? And then what happens if they continue to vote like they're doing in New York? That's the energy that was coming against, and the Pennsylvania Abolition Society partnered with the Black community to pay for this census as a way to get a report to tell people of Pennsylvania, why would you remove citizenship from these folks? These folks, they don't even bother you in the almshouse. They're taking care of their own. They're not even taking any municipal dollars. They're just going to church. They've got all these schools and stuff. Why would you do that? I'm paraphrasing the report, and I'm paraphrasing the appeal. And the other thing in the appeal was Declaration of Independence, no taxation without representation. You're doing that to us. Why are you doing this? I think it was a galvanizing moment for the Black community and for many of the leaders who thought that racism maybe couldn't affect them. That when the vote came in, and they were disenfranchised despite their richness, despite how they looked, despite everything. Then they were like, oh, snap. What are we going to do now? So 1838 was a very important year. It was the year that the community, I guess, realized its import, but also it suffered a blow, and also never, ever, ever stopped fighting for those rights. And all of the things that we know today, petitioning, marching, civil disobedience, packing courtrooms, that all developed in 1830s and 1840s after this stuff. And that's all the stuff we still use today when we're fighting for our rights. That's the long answer to why 1838.
Yes.
So you just didn't like the number. There was actually some intentionality behind it. Okay.
The ancestors.
That's like our name. Like we walk in a room and people are like, "Oh, hey, 1838. Hey, 1838." It's like we don't even have real names. Like,
right.
She's Morgan. It's like, no, we're just 1838.
I'm guilty of that. Because I was like, I need to find out these 1838 people, man. They were in the room.
Saying the year is fantastic. And what the last thing I will add to this is, in the research that we're doing, 1838 is that grounding year for us. So we look at this as the genealogy of individuals and the genealogy of a community. So we are looking at years prior, years after. We've even connected descendants who are living today to their ancestors who existed in the context of this time.
That's what was going through my mind, because my family history, we can trace back into the 1700s, and a lot of my family is in Chester County. They were free landowning Black. So as you're talking, I'm going, I need to look at this census and see if some of my people are listed
on it.
At a minimum, your people knew exactly what was happening in Philadelphia and did everything in their power to make sure that they were all one community. They are a part of the story, whether or not you even see them.
Oh, let me tell you, and they are part of the story for those who don't know. So my father's side, the Walls side, in 35, 45. Lincoln University bought the land from the Walls family to build Lincoln University. And so my great-great-grandfather went to Lincoln, my grandfather went to Lincoln, my father went to Lincoln. So yeah, we're in there. And if you look in Kennett Square, you will see my grandfather was MD. He graduated from Meharry on May 25th, 1933. So, he was the one that was tending to all of the people of color in that time period. So it's there. They write about him in books in Kennett Square and so forth. He's part of the walking tour. So as I hear this, and who he went to school with at that time, graduating from Lincoln, and I think it was 1928 or 29, who was there at that time. These are societal change makers. So the work that you're doing is just incredible, and bringing it forward for people to say these were real people, right? This was happening, and it was having a global impact. And this is why Philadelphia is so powerful, and you all bringing this energy to the forefront. So we thank you for not getting sucked up into the Alabama energy and coming and we appreciate them, because my parents went to Tuskegee, so we down with the Alabama energy, but we need you in this Philly energy.
I have a lot of respect for people in Alabama. That is a whole nother level to be down there and experiencing that, and the strength is unbelievable. I'm so glad what you said, because it's so important for people to know they have their ancestors and they can find them. A lot of people think, oh, there's no documentation, or I can't, but then you're just explaining here, like there are places to go. There are things you can find. So I think the first thing to do, if you can't find your ancestors, is just believe. If you keep believing and keep searching, you will find something on them, even if it's not an ancestry or family search. We got a couple places you can go. I mean, there's the 1838 census, but there was another one in 47
Hmm.
and another one in 56.
Okay.
They're all available online, so you can search and find your folks. But I would also encourage you to read early Black newspapers. So many of them are available for free. And any church histories, you would be shocked how much history. It's as if everybody knew that their history would not be written down, so they just wrote it. And they have incredible histories and historiographers out of the churches. I did find a John Walls in Northern Liberties in the 1847 census.
Oh, thank you. Wow.
So
amazing.
Thank you. Let me pop up some of these comments. So JJ Hannah, hailing from Houston, Texas, says it makes me think of extreme racism, rise of KKK, and Reconstruction and destruction of many Black Wall Streets, the effects of successful Black self-determination.
100%. That's the same energy that's been happening from the beginning. I mean, we have a whole page on the mob attacks, physical attacks, and some of them were really horrible, and people died and houses were destroyed. I mean, it wasn't bombing like Tulsa, but it was extremely violent. And what's happened in the historiography is they've tried to make that turn into a race riot between labor groups. They'll try to say, well, that's the Irish, the young disaffected Irish who were just frustrated that they couldn't get jobs. But there's plenty of scholarship that says no, they were really attacking Black wealth. We found that they were attacking a temperance parade in 42 of men, women, and children. We found letters. What are the hymns that are going to be sung that day by the children? And look at the only political cartoon from the time. You see musicians lying on the ground and white men beating them. So it's never been about the labor. I think that's just the front line of white supremacy, right? It's always really been about, like your caller just said, you know, the destruction of Black community.
So that is also what really, I think, draws us to this work. Because amongst all of the many Black Wall Streets that you actually witness in this timeline, from 1838 to 1868, it's kind of crazy. But it is the continued determination, the recalibration, the continued growth of these people that I find at least especially impressive.
I mean,
for every Wall Street type of burning, they are in the same neighborhood and build the hall somewhere else.
They just rebuild.
It's
amazing.
I mean, that's exactly. Go ahead, Dr. Ramatal. we was cut like Jinx. We was coming for it. Like,
it just made me think about the resilience of Black people, because even though, you know, it's focused on Philly, there were so many in the Northeast anyway. And I'm just thinking of New York in particular. You know, I know there were a lot of free Black communities founded in 1838, also like in the Brooklyn area, and even before 1838 in Staten Island. And many of them were considered like the oldest continuous free Black communities in the US. People who migrated from the South and from the Eastern Seaboard. So it's really interesting.
Dr. Ramatal or Brother Moja, any questions that you have at the moment?
No, I'm just listening to them. I just hope people are enjoying this. And as we just stepped out of Black History Month and we're now stepping into Women's History Month, this is very important because I had the very high honor of going to Vernon, New York, and meeting Harriet Tubman's descendants. And the interesting thing I keep thinking about, it took us like I think 4 hours by bus to get up there. Okay, it's like 4.5 hours when we got up to where her house is still there when I went there, and we went to her burial ground. And as I was traveling in the bus and I'm listening to y'all talking, I'm thinking about they made that journey by horse, train, walking from. When you talk, she was in Philadelphia. Harriet Tubman was in Philadelphia, and she ended up in Vernon, New York, where she's buried now, right? And you look at the distance. So I'm thinking, how many little towns that was settled by African Americans on their way up there. Because I remember one man, when I was up, the guy said some people went all the way to Buffalo, New York. And when they found out they were really free, they didn't cross over to Canada. They stayed in Buffalo and they built up in Buffalo. So we think about that, and you think about New Jersey, the little black towns. You see a lot of African Americans in different pockets in New Jersey. So this was repeated all over the Northeast and going south too. But it's repeated where people of color who had the means, and some of them didn't have the means, kept going north. So as we look at our history, how much of our histories are in these little towns and different parts of the Northeast of the United States? That's very powerful. And when you think about it, it should make you want to look back and think about what we as people have done for this country. What we have done for this country in building the wealth in the communities of this country as we were fighting for our freedom. Very powerful. That's what I'm listening to. That's what is going through my head.
And for those in the chat room, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in there. We'll get to as many as we can. I know I saw Jamie, who is from Florida. She mentioned that she found out that her family on her mother's side is connected with Abe Lincoln. She said, are related to Abe Lincoln. She was able to get back to the 1877. Seeing the census was amazing. Yeah. And for those who are just joining us, welcome. For those who've been with us, thank you for staying. And also for everyone there, the link is in the chat so you can check out 1838 Black Metropolis. If you missed why it's called Black Metropolis, well, you're just going to have to hit that subscribe button and hit that replay button. All right. It's not just because the domain name was available. There's a whole reason. There's a whole excellent reason why. All right, Michiko, what's going through your mind?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the women, since it is Women History Month. There's so many women that have inspired Morgan and I. And I when we were doing the Northern Liberties work, we were researching Black folk in Northern Liberties starting as early as the late 1700s.
And for those people who aren't from Philly, what is Northern Liberties?
It's a neighborhood just north of the center of the city. And it's always been called Northern Liberties since it was incepted in the late 1700s. It was first called the Liberties and then Northern Liberties. Okay. And almost from the beginning, there was a Black church there called Zoar, Z-O-A-R. And then around that, a community developed. But there's two women in particular. I remember when we first started researching this history, there's a street in Northern Liberties where I found out they all lived. But before I found that out, as I was walking down the street, I felt like this sense of comfort and joy. And I was like, it was a beautiful day too. So I was like, wow. Like I think I sent it to Morgan. I'm like, just feeling something. Turns out there's a woman there. Her name is Rebecca Lamsong. And her husband and she's in the census. Her husband is also in the census, and he only has one name, just Lamsong, and which I think is beautiful. But he also was a candy maker. He was a confectioner. And she shows up as one of the leaders of the Female Vigilance Committee. And what the Female Vigilance, we often hear about the Underground Railroad, which is a colloquial term for the vigilance committees. So the first one was in 1838, and that was the first vigilance committee. Then and what it did was, so what was happening was there was this burgeoning. There had been a lot of anti-slavery activity. I don't want to make it sound like there wasn't. And then all of a sudden it showed up in 1838. It really started in 1760 in Philadelphia as Black people fighting for their freedom. But that's a whole nother conversation. But so let's fast forward 60 years to 38. And now you've got these hundreds of people showing up on your doorstep. And when we look at the numbers, and we've got it on our website, we actually show that based on primary sources and stuff, about 1,000 people a year, sometimes 2,000, are coming into Philadelphia. This is the norm. This is where they were coming. And so how do you deal with someone who's coming with having been enslaved their whole life, no money? Well, maybe some of them had money, but needing new clothes, needing immediate help, immediate assistance. And so the anti-slavery societies that existed at the time, even though they were interracial, they were oftentimes sort of political or policy engines, right? They're fighting this legal fight. Who's going to take care of the people? Well, the people have been taking care of the people, but that turned into an organization. It turned into this vigilance committee to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And on our website, we've digitized those cases. There, you'll see a case of a woman who came in and she was shot. So and it'll say she was shot and she arrived in Philly. This is case number 1234. And they paid $3, and I'm sure they took her to the doctor, and I'm sure they got her, took care of her. But you don't get the full story. You just get this kind of, because it's almost like case notes. Right? So that was the vigilance committee. The female vigilance committee has got to be on a whole nother level. Now you're dealing with people who may have had children left behind or children taken from them. I mean, but women and our trauma with having been enslaved and having been constantly predatory advances on us, not being able to live the life that we want, love the people that we love. So when we're coming up into this space, now we're a woman in this space. And so this woman, Rebecca Lamsong, basically ran an Underground Railroad house, and people would come in and she would take care of them. And then we find in the record, her sister lived across the street, and her sister had owned a whole lot. And that lot had multiple, you can see it in 1860, multiple houses in it. So we're just imagining that, okay, you came in and you're MS. We got you. Just come with us. We'll get you dressed, get you fed, and help you get into that next level. So that for me is Rebecca Lamsong. And that's a woman who, in the census, shows up as a washer. She's not rich. Her sister's the one who has all the houses across the street. We see her will. She's got a bedstead. She's got, a couple books and stuff. She's not rolling, but she's doing this work. And so it makes you think about, well, I've got a 401k and a house and all this, but what am I going to be remembered 200 years from now?
Oh, boy.
Rebecca Lamsong had nothing, but yet she's a hero.
Yes.
And it shows up in the paper. And so that's one of the women I truly love. And I felt like when we were starting to bring her story up, that was the joy that we felt as we walked down that street.
Thank you. Wow.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Sister Michiko, let me ask you a question. You talk about Northern liberties. Right? Since I've been living here in Philly, I heard that name for this part of Philadelphia, or this part of the area. I also lived in Florida for several years when I was going to school. And in Southern Florida, there's an area called Northern Liberties.
Interesting.
And I'm thinking, is there a connection between this? Because our people has moved places, and we use the same names to remember where we came from. Tagged it. So you said Northern Liberties up here in Philly area. When I was in Florida going to school, I remember hearing Northern Liberties in Florida, and it was predominantly a Black area.
Interesting.
It's fascinating. I think I would not be surprised because a lot of people from here, especially during Reconstruction, went to the South to go teach, to go help build community. And so there is this flow. It had been there before the Civil War, this flow of people and information and communities, but really sped up after the Civil War. So it wouldn't surprise me in the least if there was a Philadelphian somewhere who was like, we should call this Northern Liberties.
The more we do this research, the less surprised we are when there's a Philadelphian somewhere, honestly.
True.
Philadelphians, Black Philadelphians in particular, were a global regime. I
love it. I know, you mentioned earlier about Richard Allen. You talked about the work in Haiti. As you're talking about, don't be surprised, Philadelphians show up look out for cheesesteaks, water ice, and pretzels. They be all over the place, and a good taste of cake. But Morgan, do you want to talk a little bit about the Haiti piece or anything else? Because I mean, y'all could talk about anything, and we'll sit up here.
Absolutely. As Michiko says, I love talking about the Haitian population, and in particular, when we talk about the 1838 Black Metropolis, I would argue one of my favorite talking pieces is those that fall in the margins and intersections of identities. Because Black people, even back then, even with the folks that were navigating the Underground Railroad, as those that were aiding, we are never a monolith. And so I get excited because there are so many Black folk who see themselves represented in history. For instance, our Haitian brothers and sisters. But when they hear about Black history, they might not fully identify with the African American experience. But what we often find is their relatives are critical pieces to our puzzle. And they are navigating alongside us. And many Philadelphians or folks in New Jersey may have no idea that their origin story may not have begun where they thought it had. Because not only do we see Haitian refugees and exiles, but also we're looking at early Black immigration. We're looking at Black folk coming into this region. As you had mentioned, there's little towns in New Jersey, for instance. And I am from one of those little towns in New Jersey that's really old and really Black, and really historic. And I also do genealogy. So for many of my friends or folks that I come across or clients that are from South Jersey, I would argue about 50 to 60% of them, when I do their genealogy, often trace back to Africans from the Caribbean and frequently pulled from the Caribbean, somewhere at the top of their tree. From Dominica, from Haiti, from Barbados, for me personally. And yet people have no idea they're a part of the story. So when I think of our ordinary, extraordinary folks, we can, I would go with Nancy de Matrice. She is maybe the quickest person you could fly by in the census. Similar to Michiko, you would see a washerwoman and just walk away. Nancy de Matrice became a little fixation of mine for maybe a week or so, Michiko. It resulted in a picture and a post and all kinds of things. But Nancy de Matrice came from Haiti, likely an immigrant or a refugee from the Haitian Revolution. She lived alone and she was a cake maker. And that alone, it really inspired me, because to imagine now, amongst all of these brilliant Black people creating new ways, we now have an immigrant story. And if she was a Haitian refugee in exile from the Haitian Revolution, maybe when she left Haiti, she may have not even fully identified as Black. And now she's put in a position where she is now in this Black census in solidarity and advocating for community. And navigating with very different lived experiences, and a community of people who look like her, who have a myriad of different experiences. And also her being a cake maker. A large portion of our Haitian population, they were in the culinary industry, defining what catering looks like for our nation. Nancy de Matrice's cakes could become a U.S. standard. We don't know. But she's just one piece to this larger puzzle. And her life back then also resembles the life of many people who may have came here as immigrants and now are being juxtaposed to the African American experience and must figure out how to navigate. So even in those what feels like new experiences, there is always an ancestor in Philadelphia somewhere that resembles your African American or Black American story. So and she's important. Catholic too, so she's attending an integrated Catholic church.
So, like you talked about the intersections, there's so many pieces to tap into. Dr. Ramantal, I saw you nod your head a couple times with. I almost thought I saw a choops coming out of you at one point.
I thought it was really interesting because specifically for the Haitian experience, because of them fighting the revolution and gaining their independence in 1804. So you're coming from a completely different environment where you fought for your freedom, and now you see people who look like you, but it's completely different in terms of your cultural context. And then you kind of see yourself starting a little bit over, you know, in terms of you've gained your freedom in your own country. Now you're here, you're making cakes, you live alone, which women living alone, we know that was taboo back then, you know. So that's really interesting to learn about her experience, and probably many others. I think that's really interesting.
I think one of the things, Brother Mojo, I know you were going to get ready to say something. As I'm listening to you women talk, one of my favorite, and I can honestly say my favorite history teacher was at Temple University, and he taught 1877 to the present. And the reason why he was my favorite was because he did exactly what you all are doing. He connected the pieces. He did not pretend like one isolated piece of history happened that did not have an impact elsewhere. And I remember going up to him and saying, I wish I had met you earlier in my life, because if I had, I would have a greater appreciation for a broader history. And so I just want to take this moment and thank you both for obviously the work that you do, but the way that you do it. Because it is letting people connect with the people, right? They're not ghosts. They're not stories without humanity. These are everyday people who were living their life in the midst of the social context of the time. Michiko, you look like you had a thought that you wanted to share.
Well, I know it's just on Haiti, but I mean, I'm kind of, I'm going with you on what you were saying. And I think that's the one thing that happened for me and Morgan is that it was always about these interesting people. And it was about, well, wait a minute, the house still exists. You know, and so that then what's happening is you're standing in front of a house that pretty much looks the way it did when they were there 200 years ago. Now, for you to connect with them, if you think about space-time, we've reduced the space, and we actually have the bricks that they touched. We're so close. The only thing that's separating us is time. And so we can reach them somehow. And I feel that especially with Sarah Ash, that's another woman who, since we're talking women's history, she was what was called a layer of the dead. And I'm gonna actually let Morgan finish the story because she tells it so well. I'm gonna so girl, go.
Thank you, girl. Lay it. I saw what you did there. That was good. But similar to what Michiko had said, the buildings in many cases are still here. And if not here, the beauty of Philadelphia is the grid is still the same. So even if you walk up and it is brand new construction, what is under the ground is still the story. The ground itself is still the story.
Right.
And so, as we mentioned before, there's a lot of big names in Philadelphia that we can call out as a region, as a nation, and they are our superstars of Black history, like William Still. And William Still, I would argue, is my favorite man in the context of this history. I'm just so impressed with how this little kid from Jersey came to Philadelphia and literally changed the world. And so with William Still, I deeply fell in love with his Journal C. Once I realized that our friends at the Historical Society of Pennsylvania made a digital copy where I could scroll and read through his notes at home, that became my hyperfixation for months, and Michiko was my witness. And I was so impressed because we are raising up William Still. And yet when you read his work, he's like, look at all these other people. They're the ones doing the work. he is name dropping not only the people who he's helping, but who is helping him.
Wow.
So where people are staying, we name drop those people. Who is bringing them to him or in the Vigilance Committee? He is mentioning them by name. Where they are going, the amount of money. I was so amazed. And I was especially impressed by the strength of the individuals that were seeking freedom. They're very unique stories. Like there was a young man who hopped off an auction block in Virginia, punched a guy and ran.
Oh,
That's my ancestor.
20.
that's your people, Dr. Ramacho. That's your people. Okay.
Sure.
Didn't get caught.
I'm sure.
There's a young man somewhere who might hear this podcast and be like, I relate to him.
That's right.
And that's a good thing.
That's right.
And this young man later ascends to becoming mentored by William Still through notes in Canada and becomes the William Still up around in Canada.
Wow.
So there's brilliant stories. There's people who I've heard their ancestral lore, the myth that someone had escaped in this particular way. And then I'm reading about it.
Yes.
Down to the name. And that may be their family. It was a very specific, unique situation that family knew in oral history that William Still knew to write down.
But you found one, right?
Yeah. Ironically, very good friends of mine had a family history where there was a gentleman by the name of Benjamin Franklin, which you would think is an uncommon name, but very common back in the day for people who were named. And Benjamin Franklin escaped with his young daughter and his niece, who was a teenager. And they came to Philadelphia together, this very unique pairing. And that is the origin story of my friend, whose family eventually ascended to becoming a part of the Black Wall Street in New York, who have relatives in Chicago who are artists making art about their ancestor, Benjamin Franklin, who changed the course of their family history. They even have a family based off of this man. And potentially the Benjamin Franklin that they know by heart is the Benjamin Franklin William Still knew personally.
Oh, wow.
But with that too, it was the women in particular that really stood out. The women who were at the front lines and the women who were trying to free themselves. So full circle back to Michiko and saying the name Mrs. Ash, this layer of the dead. And what a funny, ironic, and not code name for this woman. Her name was quite literally Mrs. Ash. She lived around Mother Bethel, Star Garden, for those that know the Philadelphia landscape, that 7th Ward area for those that know. And so
call out the address 420 South 7th Street because Still called out that.
It is still the address. The grid is still the same. The building is different though. It's a new construction.
No, Sarah Ash is the same. Rachel
Oh,
Myers.
Sarah Ash. I'm thinking of another part of the story. I'm about to spoil it.
Yep. Yes.
There's a couple stories. There's three homes that are in play here.
Yeah.
2 out of 3 are still there.
Yep.
Okay.
Which feels really good to say. And the other one, the grid is still there.
That's amazing.
And so with this story in particular, many Philadelphians and many people who are really into Black history may have heard the story of Henry Box Brown.
Yep.
Henry Box Brown, he's the guy who mailed himself to freedom. What? That is the oddest thing. And he was successful. And eventually found himself in England. And if you Google him and read the details, became a magician. What a story is this man? But yet, he is not as impressive when you read that book. Because women had been shipping themselves in boxes for years.
Wow.
And so in this particular,
he was the easiest of the box cases.
Yep.
Interesting.
There's another young lady named Lear Green, and we might get into her later tonight. We'll find out. But she shipped herself in a trunk and was luggage.
Wow.
But this young lady, we don't know her name, but she was sent over to Mrs. Ash's house. Miss Rachel Myers.
Yeah.
And when Miss Rachel Myers opened the box, there was a young lady who was completely comatose. And they brought her up, rested her in the bed, and they did not know what was going to happen next. So she's in a comatose state. So either she's going to make it or she's not. And they realized that she was also pregnant. And so now they have to figure out very quickly how to provide the support that is needed for whatever is about to take place when this young lady either figures out how to come to.
That's right.
Or how do we take care of her after this long journey? And so she calls up two people. Dr. Bias, James Bias is his name. And he was just up the street. And she calls up Mrs. Ash, the layer of the dead, who was her neighbor on the same block. And they both walked over.
Sure.
And beautifully enough, this young lady survived.
Wow.
And we don't know what happened with her child, but one can only imagine now that if this young lady was pregnant, imagine how many young women took it upon themselves to free themselves on their own terms, not just for themselves, but for the child that they knew they were carrying.
Yeah.
And if she had made it, that would have been the first free person in her family line since they were probably brought here. And that could be the origin story of someone who's walking around Philadelphia today.
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, you talk about tapping into inner strength in a whole different way, right? We're talking about tapping into your genetic code. We're talking about tapping into that legacy that lives within. And it's just amazing. And it goes back to something that you had said earlier, Michiko, with the idea that when you know who you are, you know where you come from, you know your story, how it empowers you, it strengthens you. And this is it. And sometimes we can connect directly to those stories. And sometimes we're inspired by other stories, as you talked about the gentleman, Benjamin Franklin, being inspired by William Still and having that mentorship. And just another Black history fact. So we are directly connected with the family of William Still as well. So
it's incredible.
Yeah. So we've been looking into that as well to get the lines straight. But someone who I referred to as Uncle, unfortunately, I did not get a chance to meet him, but he was William Still the Third, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he passed away before I was born.
Yeah, the Still family is doing a pretty great job of the legacy. There's the James Still Center in Medford, which you can go visit. And that's where William Still's brother, James, he was a doctor and he would create his own tinctures. And so they have like all the bottles that he used to make. And then he had this large pharmacopoeia. So he had a garden where he would basically bring things together to create healing for the community. And so the garden you can go see and you can visit the center, learn all about the Still family.
Now, Dr. Ramantal, I know you got to get ready to leave in a little bit. Is there anything, any question, any comment that you want to make before you go?
I just want to thank Michiko and Morgan for coming on. This is such a really good conversation, and I am learning so much. I'm going to have to catch the replay to catch the last 5 minutes because it's so good. So thank you. And I think this is an amazing group of people and your organization. So I encourage everybody to check it out, and I'm going to be checking it out as well.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Tell the family hello, and we'll see you next month.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Guys.
Have a great night. All right.
Bye.
Brother Moja, I know you had a question a long time ago or a comment. What you got?
A little bit of both, because as I'm listening to them talking, and I'm listening to the different ways that our people fought for their freedom or ran for their freedom. And I, several years ago, as you know, Dr. Wells, I was blessed to travel to the Carolinas. And I got physically adopted by a lady named Elder Town. And so the Gullah Geechee people as I read their history and when they came out of the South, out of the Caribbean, how they move, and the reason why the enslavers went after them because of the way they did the rice and what they were able to do. And I'm thinking to myself, as I talk to Elder Town, she has family up here in Long Island, that this is another part of our history. And for those who are listening, who say, "Oh, I'm from the South," that or from the Caribbean, I'm from the Caribbean, and this doesn't really doesn't touches me. Yes, it does, because our people were very creative on how to fight for their freedom. And you look at what happened in Haiti, and we know what happened in Jamaica. Lord, we know what happened in Jamaica. And we know the enslavers moved our ancestors around like cattle, like stock, like livestock. And that's very painful. But then we understand why we have so many things that's similar. When we look at our cooking, we might call the foods different name, but we cook it the same way. Or we just change a couple of things in it because we don't have those herbs, or we didn't have those exact things where we were taken. So we made the adjustment. So as I'm listening to you all talking about Philadelphia, and since I've been in Philadelphia, it's kind of interesting. I see things that remind me growing up in New York. I see things remind me when I travel to the Carolinas and when I'm from the Caribbean. I'm saying we are all interconnected on some level. And we need to understand that as a family, because where we are right now, as you know, Michiko and Morgan, is that, with the president's house and what happened down here, and that leads us into Mount Vernon, where he was in Mount Vernon. So all these things, and we have all these women fighting to keep our identity or reclaim our identity. It's very important what you're doing. I thank you for what 1838 is doing, because it's just not in Philadelphia. It's spreading across the country, all the way up to where Harriet Tubman is buried, going into Canada, Buffalo, go all the way down into Barbados, where we know that the Gullah Geechee people and some of the people came out of, and they're all the way up there. So I thank you for what you're doing, because speaking about it is one thing, but now you guys are showing hard evidence that this actually happened.
Yeah.
And I think we need to, as we look at this country's 250 coming up, we need to look at what we have in that 250 and beyond.
Yeah.
So I thank you too for what you're doing, because it's very important that we have. People say, "I got the papers." You guys got the papers,
the receipts.
Yes. And thank you so much. And that's why when I was thinking about you, and I met you, I said, I got to get you on the radio show, because I know we have a global audience that we work with here in the U.S., the Caribbean, and in Africa, and hopefully they'll listen to this, and it might make them think about those old stories that they heard, the grandparents or great grandparents, and say, "Wait a minute, this makes sense. Maybe, just maybe." So thank you for giving that baby some life.
Yeah, I got to poke Morgan, because when you said Gullah Geechee, she looked like she had some good Southern food there. It hit her in the side. So I want to put some words to that.
Yeah, I mean, Michiko and I both got a little Gullah Geechee in us, so when you said it feels good.
Oh, you got that red rice, huh? You got that red rice in you, huh?
Yeah, we got
Bamberg,
a little bit of that in us.
Yeah.
If my mom was here, rest her soul, she would have went yes somewhere. Because you called her out by name.
Come on.
But I want to yes and what you said. And I want to then toss it to Michiko, because I think she can really take us to another place with it. But one thing I want to emphasize is this community of people identify not as African American, not as any word that starts with an N, not as Black, but as freed Africans. And on the premise of us being African, that is the unity. And so with that, we would celebrate holidays that weren't necessarily even in line with the United States, because we want to celebrate our collective freedom. And I'm going to toss that to Michiko, but I also want to hold space for the fact that not only were we advocating for our own collective liberation, but if you read through the newspapers, they are looking at communities of color on a national and global scale, demanding all of us have the equality that we deserve. And so when I think about those holidays, though, And the ways we celebrate it, I'm gonna let Michiko go because I love the way she talks about it.
Okay.
But so many things are going through my mind right now, but I'll take it from there. From the West Indian Emancipation Day was the day that was celebrated in the Black Metropolis and in many Black settlements and cities throughout the country. And that day was August 1st. And so it's very interesting to watch the dichotomy between July 4th, which is what was being celebrated since 1776. The Black community had a history of protest speeches on the 4th. The 4th is when you stood up and said, your declaration says this, but this is how we're being treated. And everybody did that. There were many, many, many. The What to the Slave of the 4th of July is not the only one. Everybody did that on the 4th. And then on the August 1st, parades, people dressed up, kids coming together to sing, church services. And that was the Emancipation Day in the British Empire. In Jamaica, it was when the enslaved people were freed. And I think it was 1837, but I think it was definitely August 1st. Okay. And so every August 1st, that was a celebration that was held. And this whole idea about celebrating globally and having that global connection, there was something that happened in 1817. I know that seems so early, but there was a man named Prince Saunders. So interesting.
His picture is gorgeous.
The man was fine. Okay,
go onto our website. He looks like
Bridgerton. Okay, and he was dressed.
His pose, his portrait. He had rings, a frilly shirt. We really should have him in Bridgerton. And he's
my!
He really needs to show up.
Please, we have a search engine, Prince Saunders, and he's walking about.
Okay.
He was like the third Black man to graduate from Dartmouth in like 1820 something. He became the international envoy for Prince Henry. So he actually went to Haiti and was like his international diplomat, the diplomat for Haiti, the guy who was going to London and back to Philly and trying to make all these connections and making them admirably in the 1820s. Doing international diplomacy, but he spent a good amount of time in Philly at St. Thomas in 1816 and 1817. So if you're walking past where St. Thomas was, you can think about Prince Saunders walking past there too. He and Paul Cuffey and James Fortin wanted to have Black folk go to Haiti. And they put it in front. They had like 4,000 people pack Mother Bethel Church and the outside of the church. And they asked the community in 1817, and this was being led by this kind of Haitian contingent. Do you want to move to Haiti? What do we think is going to happen here in the U.S.? Are we really going to get our rights? And the answer was no. And the answer was no because everybody had family who was still enslaved. So it wasn't I'm talking to this global sense of we can go to a country that's free. We can go to a Black country. We can establish something new. And some people did. There were people from Philly who moved to Haiti, who even moved to Trinidad. We know a guy who's writing a dissertation on the Philadelphians who populated Trinidad. This is in like 1820s, 1830s. So the answer was no. And it was no because we're not leaving until our kin are also free. And so there's this sense of identity, even before there's a polity, even before there's a colored convention. There's a sense, it's what Morgan just said. We're all eventually from the same family. We're all from the same continent. Right. Even if we've gotten mixed in with stuff, the thread of Africa is still running in us and not leaving until something changes. But we are aware of Haiti. Some of us are going. Some of us went to Liberia. That was part of the American Colonization Society trying to push Black people out of this country. That's a whole other thread. There's different types of Black immigration. There's some Black immigration where it's I'm still going to keep my agency, my identity, my authority, and I am going to move in that realm. I'm going to either move to Canada, and Marianne Shad Carey was like, Canada's great. You should be here. And then there was also Haiti. But then the push to Liberia and Sierra Leone had more of a wrapper around it from the American Colonization Society that was trying to get Black people out of the United States. It was a whole different push, a different reason. That said, Black people still went and became successful. Coker, I think his first name is Daniel. He was a pastor at Mother Bethel. He went to Nigeria and founded a state in Nigeria, and his descendants are still there, and they still have a very important place in this state in Nigeria. He's originally from Philly, and he went to Nigeria in like the 1820s.
Wow.
And yeah. So, I mean, that's that level of interconnection that was happening way earlier. And that's the part that gets erased, right? Because if we're able to know how powerful Black folk were before internet, before telephones,
I'm saying,
I mean, and able to do all of these things at an international level, we have to understand how powerful that identity is.
Yes.
Unity is. And that DNA connection that helps us to say, this is who we are, and we are powerful, beautiful people who need to really push back on oppression and like a little bit harder, you know.
I want to ask you two ladies a question, something that's kind of, I heard some of the story, but I know what I heard is not correct, so I'm not going to say. Why did they move the capital from Philly to DC? And I'm thinking about Black power and black economics. Was that anything to do with why that was done?
That's an incredible thesis. I don't know for sure, but now that you raised it, I think it's worth looking into.
Because as I'm listening to you talking about this, such a great power that people of color had as free slaves had in Philadelphia, it behooves them to like, we don't want people to see that. Let's move it somewhere else where they're not that as powerful. And I'm thinking to myself, is that why it was moved from Philly to DC? What was behind? Because they don't do something just to be doing it. They have a reason, as usually to take our power away from us, to take our identity away from us. Why was that done? I was wondering if you guys knew. But
I think your theory is really like a really good place to jump off at. Like, what for the reason that they moved to DC? How does that reframe the way they want the United States to be understood? And I, as someone who has a lot of ancestry that comes from like that DC, Columbia, Maryland, Eastern Shore area, we are also looking at large populations of free people of color who also coexist alongside those that experienced enslavement. Like that's the rich history of that region. And when we look at the timeline that we often do with 1838, we are also seeing an active push to kick those free people of color out or separate them from their enslaved loved ones and relatives actively, even if they were married to someone who was enslaved. And that was within that area. So your theory is,
I love it,
really cool. And we've never considered, when we reframe history through a Black lens, which is what we do, 1838, how does repositioning the capital reflect the way that the United States wants to understand or show their relationship to people of color?
Right. And tell their story. Right. And so it's very interesting because Michiko, you mentioned earlier in the programming about the cognitive dissonance that was created, the internal conflict between this is what we say, and yet here's physical evidence of this is what we're doing, and there being that disconnect. So Yeah, there's a lot there. I want to take a moment. I want to welcome everyone to the show. We still have people coming in. Thank you for joining us. You all have been participating in a very rich and powerful conversation. Yes, we know it's March and it's past Black History Month, but we all know that Black history is 365, sometimes 366 on a leap year. So, right, it is every day, all day, and there's so many stories to be told, which helps us understand what has happened, as well as what is happening, as well as what can happen in the future. Positive, negative, all the above, and everything in between. I have put the links for 1838 Black Metropolis in the chat room so that you all can continue to discover more of what these women and others within the organization are doing. We definitely encourage you, connect with them, go on some of the walking tours, experience this history for yourself, begin to ask the questions like Brother Emoja is asking, and not just ask them, start doing the research to find some answers to them as well, and draw your own conclusions, your hypotheses, and create conversations for deeper learning and understanding. Now, the question for you, this is also National Reading Month, and as an author, that is very important to me. All right. What are some books and or some websites that you both recommend for people to tap into at this time and going forward?
Well, we have a essential reads page on our website.
Excellent.
And so I personally love a book by Ashton Lattimore called All We Were Promised. It is set in 1838 in the Black Metropolis, and it is the story of two women helping to free another woman who has come into Philadelphia. And it has all of the people and all of the nuance and all of the interconnections that we have been talking about today in fictionalized form. I told the author, this is the book we would have written. And so it's a page turner. So that would be the number one book I would recommend, because it is just so close to what we're talking about. What about you, Lauren?
And give me the title again, please.
Oh, sure. All We Were Promised by Ashton Lattimore.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you go onto our website, that 1838blackmetropolis.com,
Yes.
put a / and type books.
Gotcha.
We have a couple of books and recommendations for you all. And then we have a couple on social media also that float. And every time we find a new one, we get excited and want to share.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I put it in the chat if you want to take it. But this guy to the left of me, that's Frank Webb.
Mm-hmm.
He was born and raised in the Black Metropolis, and he wrote a book called The Garys and Their Friends. It's available free online, and it is a fictionalized story of a young man and a family and them growing up in the Black Metropolis, making it through the mob attack. There's a very important scene in the book of the mob attacks, and just it's fascinating, because you know that he knew people who survived these mob attacks, and a house gets attacked and they pour tar down. They are able to defend, but there's this street drama, there's a battle, and these are things that really did happen. So this is he's getting all these stories from all these people, and he's putting it into this book. So it's really kind of almost like another ancestral memory, being compiled by Frank Webb. And so I would say everybody should also read that if you're really trying to understand what it was like to grow up. And you start with Charlie. He's 12. He's going to school. Then he's stopping. He's skipping school because he can play marbles. I mean, it really starts with a kid. And then it goes through his whole life. It goes through all the things that are involved in just the intersections of everything we've talked about. It's another book I would definitely recommend. And it's on our page too.
Okay.
Yeah. And in rounding us to Women's History Month and also looking at childhood.
Yes.
One, I want to make a subtle plug to the writer of the Addie book for American Girl Doll. She's a friend of ours, a fan.
Okay.
I think Addie is one of the great books. We did a whole shout out to how well she did because it was a well-researched book.
Okay.
To start young people off. But also, I would highly, highly recommend Notes from a Color Girl. The Emily Davis Diaries. She was a young lady raised in what we call the Black Metropolis of Philadelphia. And it is her diaries, which are accessible and one can visit at the Historical Society of Pennsylvania. You can go online, pick them up. They're as big as my palm, and I'm very short, so this is not a big palm whatsoever. And you can flip through and hear about her day to day, how she's going to get ice cream, how she's interacting with friends. It is so important to remember that, again, these ancestors were human. And even for our giants, they were once children with elders around them. So you can witness this young child, similar to the Garys and their friends, experience their world. And now we're put in the shoes of someone who is just as ordinary as we all are.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And we relate on the premise of being a child and wanting to hang out with friends and struggling in school and eating ice cream. And the difference between us and this child is the serious moments of their world is slavery and collective liberation.
And a looming war, right? She's about a couple years before the Civil War. She actually talks about the colored troops marching away and also going to visit them in hospital in West Philly and North Philly. I got one more.
Go for it.
Okay. So this one is about Rebecca Cox Jackson.
Okay.
So we were asked a lot, do you have any queer stories? And we're like, for a long time, no. But then I met a student at UArts who said, you need to research or you need to look up Rebecca Cox Jackson. Rebecca Cox Jackson, born in the Black Metropolis, became this incredible spiritual leader in Mother Bethel in the 1830s, and then decides she's going to become a Shaker. She has a spiritual vision. And she says, she believes in like the more than one God, and one of them being a woman, right? So she's going into a whole different realm. You can imagine she's married, a married woman in the AME, like deciding I'm going to go in this direction. And so she actually leaves the church and she goes up to New York to become a Shaker. And then she feels that she has to come back and teach Shakerism to her people here. So she brings a Black queer community, and we think it's a queer community because she also formed a partnership with another woman named Rebecca, and they stayed together for their whole lives. They lived together, they never got married, and when Rebecca Cox Jackson died, her partner Rebecca took on her name. So it's just a whole liberating way of living earlier than you would have thought, happening right here in Philly. And it's also very interesting because she talks about changing the weather, about praying for rain, about even binding people. I mean, she's like in a whole different
realm. Yeah.
And so for people who want to like really learn about, and that's what I think is the diversity of the Black experience in much earlier in the century. Again, we're not a monolithic group of people, and we're just as diverse then as we are today. And those stories exist. That's the other thing. People tell you, Charles Boxman was told you have no history. And yet here's this woman's diaries of what she did, of growing up in Mother Bethel and deciding to leave, and then, praying for rain. I mean, it exists. It exists.
And I know
in the Christian Bible, did not Moses pray to the sun not to go down so they could finish the fight? So,
That's supernatural stuff.
But I'm also thinking, Morgan, I know we do not have time to go into it today, but I also know this is not a one and done, that you also are historic. You do a lot of historical research around the Lenape tribe, and please correct my pronunciation if needed.
You are absolutely on it. I want to be mindful of time, so I have to say this as quickly as possible. But yes, I identify as Afro-Indigenous. I am both Black and Nanticoke Lanai Lenape. My branch of the family, they're in tribe. We're from Southern New Jersey. So the town we're from is Gouldtown and Bridgeton. The oldest nationally recognized mixed race town in the North. There's this new phrase that's coming out of some scholarship called Tidewater Creole. It's the best way to explain how that existence works. And we can get into that on another day, Michiko, because I saw your head turn. But it's a good way to describe a lot of what's happening over there.
Yes.
But moral of the story is for Indigenous folks, there were many people who did not leave on the Trail of Tears. Many people who want to stick by where they are from. And that is something for many people who are from the East. We often call it a paper genocide because the United States said, oh, if you aren't going with us, then you have just omitted your race and you are Black. Congratulations. And that did not remove anyone's identity, but it did change the way that people navigate. And so many of us identify as multi-generationally mixed or any other way in which their tribe or family navigated. So with that, as we do this work with 1838 Black Metropolis, and as you hear me say, I always want to uplift people who live in the margins. There are many people who have a multitude of identities who are still showing up in this way.
Yes.
For instance, our girl Harriet Jacobs, one of the most famous escape stories in American canon, stayed with a family named the Durhams. The Durham family, they were very prominent here in the city. The husband, he ran a church, and it was just, they were a very big family. They had a whole block of Durhams. And when you read Harriet Jacobs' story, and she's recounting of seeing fresh food and smelling everything and hearing fire trucks and getting ready to pick up a bucket of water and take out the fire. And there's a little girl in the room saying, hey, you need to lay down, actually. That young girl was Afro-Indigenous. And it does not remove anything from the story. It only adds in another layer of the way that Black people continue to exist. And also adds another layer of, as I mentioned before, Black people were advocating for many marginalized communities as they were experiencing genocide actively as people were moving westward. Like we can open up. I think it was the Liberator, Michiko, April 5th.
Colored American.
Thank you, the Colored American. 1838, April 5th. They are praying for the Cherokee Nation. That all of their prayers come true and that they are protected. And so there is another layer to this, to say the least. But it also, I really just want to emphasize the fact that it's more complex. There are also people hidden in plain sight within this text, in the book that we speak on, who are Eastern Asian, Southeast Asian, triracial amongst that. Our founding father, Aaron Burr, had triracial Southeast Asian grandkids who attended what will later become Cheyney University and became prominent abolitionists. So there's so much more.
Yeah.
Again, it just adds to the layers of our story as a people.
Thank you. Well, to say this has been dinner, appetizer, dinner, dessert, smorgasbord is an understatement. We thank you both. Before we close out, let me just ask you, any upcoming events that the audience needs to be made aware of?
Mitchie, do you want to go first? There's so many exciting things that are happening with 1838. It's so hard to keep track. But Mitchie, how about you go first, and then I'll alley-oop.
Okay, so I think the biggest thing is that we are getting ready to do a celebration of the Institute for Colored Youth. And there's on our website, it goes into great detail about all the activities we've had to this point, which have been really getting involved with the schools, creating historical reenactors. Like we have now got 2 actors who are amazing, who can do Carolyn LeCount and Octavius Cato, and they have visited the schools as such. And now what we're doing is, and then this week has been walking tours for those same cohort of children. They're going on the walking tour, and they visited Mother Bethel. And then we're going to have in May a recreation of the graduation ceremony. And the reason we wanted to recreate it was because these poor kids had to get in front of the whole community, and their teacher would walk in front of them. And when I say teacher, I mean Octavius Cato, and ask them questions about trigonometry that they would have to answer in front of the whole community. Okay, so your exam was public. And we were like, that's crazy. So we actually thought, what does that look like? And that turned into, we're going to do a half an hour, maybe it'll be an hour long play. It will be open to the public, but it will also involve the children who have been part of this cohort studying this. And so that's upcoming in May 1st. We'll start doing the promos for that probably in a couple weeks. Limited space in Mother Bethel, so it'll probably be a first come, first serve kind of situation. And we're only doing this once unless we get more funding, but that's what we're doing right now. And yep. So Aliu, back to you.
And I'll catch it from there. And later this year, myself as well as Dr. Kirsten Lee, our academic director, we received this tremendous honor and cohort and grant to create a monument for the ancestors by the end of 2026. And we need the community's help to help curate who will go in the monument to represent the ancestors. It's our extraordinary, ordinary monument. We want our ordinary folks to represent the ordinary folks who made change happen. And so just keep your eye out on Extraordinary Ordinary. It's going to start popping up very soon within the next 2 weeks. And it'll be a year-long campaign.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. Well, you both are getting shout outs. Thank you for sharing the wonderful resources, powerful and inspiring. This has been so incredibly informative. We got hand claps going on. Learned a lot. Bravo all. Thank you, and so forth. And so I'm getting texts that are coming to my personal phone as opposed to coming on that are like, oh my goodness. Oh my, people saying I had to drop off. I'm in Oklahoma, but I'm a pick it up later. I'm working, so thank you. Brother Emoji, before I close, anything else that you would like to say, add?
No, I just want to thank I want to thank Morgan and Michiko for doing this, because Sisters for Harmony is about spreading the knowledge and empowering us. And what you did tonight is, I truly believe, is going to empower some young people. And this empower people, but I love the young people. Empower them to help them understand that they are walking in greatness.
Yes.
That's what we have to let our young people know, that they're walking in greatness.
Right.
And that's what you got. You two ladies help us tonight to help us reestablish, put a bigger spotlight on that road that they're walking in. So thank you very much.
Ladies, anything else that you would like to say before we close out?
Just appreciations to you for having us today, for letting us talk about our ancestors. We really love doing this. We love telling their stories. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And if I could, for all of our audience members that are listening, we are speaking of fantastic histories of ordinary people who are capable of doing extraordinary things in their lives and for others.
Right.
And as we have all gently been saying throughout the course of this conversation, if you don't already know, I would encourage you, now that especially Black history is under attack, it is so important now more than ever to start doing the work to learn your personal history.
Yes.
Yeah.
For everyone we're talking about right now, that's somebody's grandma, somebody's grandfather.
Yes.
And your ancestors, where they come from Philadelphia, from the Gullah Geechee Islands to all the way out in California, they are just as important. And for all you know, and what has been a shock for many people who have connected with us, you sometimes find yourself in the metropolis at the end of the day. So if you have not done that journey, please, I encourage you all to start doing some research and get to know yourselves a little bit better, so you feel empowered by our collective ancestors and your own.
I know that's right. Well, look, all of the links are in the chat room. It's up to you to click on them and take that next step. We encourage you to walk with these women, learn your story, tell your story. We have all types of documentation now, to the point, years ago, we're searching to find these stories. You can upload your story on Instagram. You can upload your story on YouTube. You can upload your story. You create your own website and your blog. Document, document, document. Edmund always says pictures are not for us, they're for the future. Right? So he always said, get over. I don't want to be in pictures. We need you to be in pictures because we need that documentation. It is so important that the stories are told. You two mentioned earlier, somebody could easily just go by the census and kind of, well, it doesn't say Dr. So-and-so, and it doesn't say that they made this. They were just a cake maker, but there's no just in that.
Yes.
Right? They were a person with a story that had influence, that had power, that had importance. And so it is up to us to reclaim those stories, retell those stories, connect. It's representation. Morgan talked about all the different intersectionalities that people have. There's someone who you can relate to and connect to and vibe with. It's like, I'm feeling that for some reason, and then you learn a little bit more. It's a wonderful, rich and valuable history. And you too are that person. They asked the question earlier, like, what are you going to be remembered for, right? What part of you is adding to this quilt, this fabric of Black history, of total history? And so we leave you with that. Please be sure, go on the walking tour, connect with them, look at all the different resources at the 1838 Metropolis. You can follow them on Instagram. They need the followers. You can be sure to click on their website. Every time you're clicking, it's adding to the statistics, which then adds to their ability to get additional funding. So we got to make sure that we're providing that research data so that they can get the funding that they need to continue to do the work that they need to do for us, the collective. Yes. All right. All it takes is a click. You ain't got to buy nothing. It just takes a click. Hit the subscribe button on Instagram. Hit the subscribe button on TikTok. Go back and visit the website. Share the website out. You can hit the subscribe button on my channel too at Ask Dr. Walls 525 on all platforms. And also get some of the books. That's important too. Get them for yourselves. Get them for loved ones. Get them for a neighbor. Pass them out to people. And you can buy some of my books too. So it is important that we support each other. One thing that we've talked about tonight is the collective strength. We are stronger together. If our ancestors were able to do what they did at a time that they didn't have the resources that we have now, we have no excuse. None whatsoever. So go ahead, babe.
I'm going to say, hey, Michiko, I'll see you May 1st.
Okay. It's going to be great. You're the one who's documenting it for us. So that's a weighty responsibility.
He got it. Y'all got the right one.
That's right.
All right. With that said, I love it. The Reading Clinic said her story and his story, collective ancestry and our own. That's it. Well, with that being said, y'all know how I feel when I get excited. I shake a tambourine. Y'all did that tonight.
All right.
All right. Good night, everyone. Until we meet again, we will see you on the third Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. for our book club, where we're talking about getting rid of the weight, mind, body, and spirit at 7 p.m. So be sure to join us then. And then we'll see you on the first Thursday in April at 7 p.m. And you never know, we might have some pop-ups because they got a whole lot of knowledge to share, y'all. So as always, God bless and continue to live your greatest life. See you next time.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.